All right, family, it's your brother Assad,
I'm Adrian.
and we are back again with another quick video. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so that you'll be notified when we drop new material on this channel. Secondly, in terms of housekeeping, we got to give a special and a significant and a particular and a peculiar type of love to our South African family for all the love you guys have shown us, shown this channel, my wife, my children, all of us in this journey to South Africa, which is coming to which is coming into fruition very, very quickly for us. And thirdly, we still have our KZN in our prayers and our thoughts and our supplications. So, what about housekeeping? Is that it? Yep.
That's it.
I think that's it in terms of housekeeping. So, man, we wanted today to kind of, I guess what's happening is now that this stuff is getting close, right? It's becoming real. We're starting, to examine, critically examine, to analyze, right? To critique, to investigate, to interrogate, right? What's the another word?
So I don't know, but I think that already. We're doing.
We're just looking at the decisions that we've made, and today we came across a thought like, well, some of the differences. Now I think we've done like difference in cost of living type stuff,
Yeah.
right? But some of the differences that we may have noticed in our time. So let's talk about it. We've been to South Africa. We were in South Africa 3 times in 2021. We were there in March. We were there in 2019 because 2020 was killed by COVID.
Right.
Right. So we have spent a significant amount of time, and we have built relationships and all that good stuff. So although we're not there right now, we can kind of talk about some of the differences, right? That we know, and these are not like major differences because it's kind of, just some things that we notice that we see, and I think people will understand, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first things that we noticed and the conversation came up was when we actually went to deliver our passport package, the visa application, our passport application. Yeah, right. Visa application and passports and all that good stuff was the time for processing. Now, I remember in December, that boy Ryan, he a little rapper. But I remember in December when I put my stuff in for SAQA, right? And my South African family.
Did it ever come through?
No.
Have you checked on it?
Yeah.
What is no, what was the status?
Nothing. That's what we talking
about. Does it say
about.
still processing?
It went from saying expected date of completion March 2022 to June 2022. Family, this is what I'm talking about. What SAQA has to do is verify my degree. Now, here's what was explained to me by an immigration partner. He says what happens is SAQA will send out an email to my university, my institution. That email may get looked at by somebody or not. They don't know who SAQA is. Right? No, let's be real. They don't know who SAQA is. So they're going to look at that and they're going to ignore that a good 30 times. And then after a while, it just becomes junk mail. Right? So.
And where do they send it to? What email do they send it to?
I don't know. I don't know what email. Man. Because, see, I think if that was a part of the application, I would have said, hey, this is the person you need to call, the registrar. And this is the email address. I would have given them that because that would take 24 hours.
Yeah.
Bam, bam,
especially
bam.
Give them a heads up.
Just like that.
Coming through.
Hey, listen. There's going to be something that say SAQA coming. Y'all make sure y'all answer that email and answer your phone. That's it. But it's not like that.
No.
SAQA has managed to take something that I believe is a 5 to 10 minute process and turned it into literally 6 months, and it's still not done yet.
If not longer.
If not longer.
Remains to be seen. We'll see next
So
month.
so when we went to the visa application, application, and the guy was like, it's gonna take 4. Did he say 4 to 5 or 5 to 6?
4 to 5.
4 to 5 weeks. Now, America, USA make folk wait a long time on visas. Facts. Facts. But not Americans. They don't make Americans wait a long time too much for like our visa passport application. Now, COVID has put a delay on the processing of passports, right? But before COVID, I mean, 2 weeks maybe.
It was pretty quick.
Bam, bam, bam. If you paid for expedited, you got it just like
when
that.
We were dropping off our application, and the man was talking to the lady who worked at the embassy, and he was describing that he applied for a updated passport, I think, for his son.
February of 2021.
2021. And he said it was months and months, of almost a year later, and they just were telling him, we need new fingerprints.
Right.
And I was like, ooh,
yeah.
How you make this man wait a year to tell him we need some new fingerprints?
And he was very patient.
He was very patient.
He was very, because I can just tell that he was used to the process. Right. And I think my heart went out to him because he said, my mom just had her situation. So he was like, my mom is very sick and I need to get there and I want my son to get to SA or whatever have you. So, so my heart went out to him, but he was very patient and remained very calm, even though it just had to be an entirely frustrating situation. As Americans, it would have made the news. We would have been steaming. What? Get your supervisor down here. I need to talk to your supervisor. Where your manager?
She was handling him bad.
Yeah, she was.
Because all he was trying to do was be heard. He was trying to explain this. Yeah. He was trying to ask questions. Why is this necessary?
Right.
Why do we have to do it like this and not like this? I came all the way from Florida.
Yeah.
And the more that he asked questions, she was getting loud with him.
Yeah, she was.
I was like,
so we're
different.
So I think that's the flip side. So we're just used to, I'm not going to say more efficient because that puts such a positive spin on it, but it's quicker service, just flat out quicker service, right? If something can be done in 24 hours, even if it doesn't matter, even if I don't need it for 6 weeks, if it can be done in 24 hours, it should be done in 24 hours. That's just the American mindset, So that's the one thing we notice is like, the rate, the speed of things, right. In particular government agencies, So the second thing that we noticed that was a little different. Come on, let me make a little note here. Was the very communal people. What we've noticed about South Africans and Black people in America, and I think Americans in general are communal in terms of we get together for Christmas.
Yeah.
Or we get together for Thanksgiving. Right? We get together for holidays. It looks more like South Africans be like, it's Saturday. They're gonna have a bride.
The old day.
They're gonna get together. Or when we go to restaurants and they say it's like, it's always a table somewhere, 2 or 3 tables really, of a whole lot of people together. 8, 9 people. And we see that maybe it's a birthday. If you go right now to restaurants, locally or nationally, really, it's graduation time. So you will see a lot of that. Yeah, you will see a lot of group. But if you just go on a regular Saturday in, February, it's going to be 1 or 2 people at the table. Most probably 4, like a double date type stuff. But what I see in SA, and then granted, somebody's going to say, no, we always get together. I'm just saying just what we've observed. What I see together in SA, it's like they get together.
Yeah, they do.
Y'all get together. Big facts. Y'all be like, okay, we're going to have this bride or we're going to meet at this restaurant. And it is like, even at that restaurant we went to.
Which one?
Gamilli's. What's it called, Gamilli's? The Italian restaurant owned by the brother where we had to meet up. Please forgive me, my memory is terrible when it comes to certain things. But I could see how people were getting together at a restaurant and kind of a party atmosphere at the same time. Big groups, right? 5 and 6 people coming together. And that's, we get charged extra gratuity. Right? You said 5 or more. They gonna charge you extra. Yes. Yeah, you can charge extra for parties of 5 or more. We're like, y'all 2 separate tables. 2 separate tables. Y'all go that way, I'm gonna go over here. So yeah, I've noticed that. And I think that's why the meetup idea, to say that I'm in the U.S. and doing this little meetup and people, I think it's because it coincides and it fits very well with their within the culture. Let's meet up. They want to eat and get together.
And I think it's going to be something we're going to have to adjust to a little bit.
Yeah,
like being more social.
Right.
Right. Like typically during the week we just go to work, we come home. We see people every once in a while, but. Right. Not like it's Saturday. Let's all get together.
And then most of our friends don't live locally.
True.
So
my closest friends don't live in the same city.
Yeah, my closest friends live elsewhere. So that's going by my mom and my dad and my sister and stuff like that. That's one thing. But like just having the people pop up and hang out. That's kind of few and far between. You got to kind of prepare yourself for that. Right. We're so used to being like, nah, I don't know.
Let me catch you. Let's do it another time.
So, hey, you call me on Monday to be like, man, we got plans on Friday, man. Let's go hang out. I'm be like, yeah, that sounds good. I already know. I done got older enough now. And maybe a few years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I get excited about it. But now I'll just tell you the truth. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Oh, you got to work or something? Nah, I just.
I'm like, I got home. I took my clothes off.
Man, we got to go right after work. If it is,
you know how many times we made lunch plans with coworkers? We're like, okay, next Thursday we're gonna get together. Thursday comes, somebody inevitably will call. Listen, you think we can reschedule?
Just don't work like that, man. Just don't work like that. Because that Thursday coming, you be like, I don't know. I don't feel like talking to them. That's cold-blooded.
It's gonna be an adjustment. It is.
It's cold-blooded, but I mean, I think
it's a good thing too.
Yeah,
it is a good thing.
Yeah, I think what it is that we know our co-workers and stuff. We're not really rocking with them like that. Like my friends, I don't know, man. My friends were in town. I think I would have no problem going hang out, but they don't live here, So
there's that ease of
because you don't have to put on too much when you're hanging with your friends. You just there. But that's what I like about my South African family, because I don't feel like I have to put on too much hanging with them. No, so that's not too bad, And
I feel like those who joined us at the meetup, like they've seen enough of us on here that I'm like, okay, you kind of know what we're about. Right.
That's true.
You came after watching that, you must be all right.
You all right. You squared away with me. Yeah, exactly. You all know I'm about to talk loud, laugh loud.
Right.
So if you're embarrassed, if there got a lot of white people around and I'm loud and my loudness make you be like, oh God. But see, that goes into the next thing. Is like, I don't know how to describe it, family. So this week we went to DC, and Washington DC has not only a lot of South Africans, just a lot of continental Africans, period. Habesha, Ethiopians, and Eritreans, everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. Cameroonians, all of Africa is like really every Uber. We got to a lot of Ubers. We got to a lot of Ubers. Every Uber was a continental African from a different part of Africa. right? And I would ask questions like, well, how many is, oh, it's a lot of us here. That's my continental African
What
accent.
accent that was. Somebody's accent.
But he was like, there's a lot of us here. And one guy said the Ethiopians run all of the 7-Elevens, right? They control all of that. And you saw them everywhere. We went to a Kenyan restaurant, right, called Swahili Land, I believe. And but there is so I think that so this is kind of the other difference. I think that this is not necessarily South Africa specific, but maybe continental African kind of, and growing up when you are in a super duper majority. So in South Africa, they still black South Africans, including our color South Africans, if we throw them in there, they are in a super majority, right? Super majority. For us, we have had to kind of do certain adaptations to who we are because we live amongst, we are minorities, right? So, and then we have been given, because of our minority status, there has been certain unspoken, even unwritten, and at times written and spoken limitations placed on who and what we can become and who and how we could think. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, family, but
Or what makes us acceptable to majority culture
right,
to
right,
access
right,
certain things.
right. And I just think that our continental African family just don't have those same type of, I don't want to call them hangups. They don't have the same experience
Yeah.
with whiteness, and they know racism and white supremacy. They see it maybe from a global and national level, how racism and white supremacy is at play. South Africans definitely experience apartheid and
Yeah.
stuff, but what separates that is that they were still in the majority, right? For us, there is a different interaction and relationship with racism and white supremacy that affects many ways our psychology, our motivation, our the ideas of who and what we can become.
Right.
You know,
Not only in the majority, but still culturally intact.
right? Still same, and we'll get to that. Marriage practices and
Right.
wedding practices
Right.
and
Languages,
belief systems,
even
all
if it's
that's
embedded underneath a
right.
mask of Christianity or Islam, there's still elements of a traditional, very sometimes old belief system
Right.
that still pops up and shows itself.
So although we have some very identifiable traits that can cultural traits that can trace back to West Africa, in many ways Black Americans in general are just a kind of bastardized form. Our culture is just a bastardized form of white culture. In many ways. In many ways. And that is by no means to knock my people, right? It is what has happened to us. Right. It's just our history, right? And how we have become who we are, right? So as you mentioned, our continental family, they still have these things intact. And with all that being said, there's a different presentation. There's like a different light in the eyes. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, and it's some stuff is just intangible, but speaking to the Uber driver or the lady at the Swahili restaurant, who you could just, it's a different light. Now, there's many things that African Americans have contributed to this world, and we have a lot going on for ourselves. So I'm not going to downplay my group.
Right.
But there's a different light. I wish I could explain it, and somebody in the comments will probably be able to say, this is what you mean, brother Assad. It's just hard to explain. It's an intangible. And I see it in my South African family, you know, and I see the difference in our Black American family, you know. So it's like a,
it's a different, because we've been in hostile ground for so long,
right.
which makes us, I think, become more defensive
Mhm.
or more skeptical or untrusting, or all of these things because of being in hostile territory.
Right.
That they've not been in. So when they come to the States, they can just meet folks where they're at. Take them as they are, because they don't have that history. They're not carrying around that baggage.
Eddie Glaude Trauma. Dr. Eddie Glaude spoke of being their Negro versus being another Negro. And I've talked about this before on the channel, right? So when continental Africans come to the United States, they have a different relationship with whiteness and white supremacy and white people, right? When you say your name and your name is not Johnson Smith or whatever have you, or King or you know, all of these, you know.
I need to find a hobby show name.
But when your name
really liked you, Adrian.
You're right. But when you have these those names, right, and they know that they're like, they know you don't have the same baggage that Black Americans have, right? In terms of their relationship. So Eddie Glaude says when he goes to
I think it was Europe somewhere.
he went to he went to Europe somewhere, and they were treating their Black people horribly there. But they treated him very differently because he didn't come with the baggage that those Black people had, right? That those Africans had. He was an American Black, so those white people had not done anything to him, right? So he was able to approach them differently. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's what all of this last 8 minutes is about.
And they've not. It's not, you know, in America, it's very much this black and white world. You know, it's not in reality, but in the way that the social construct is made. You know, it's been very black and white. Whereas they're coming from experiences where it is multiracial. They have more exposure to other groups. So white people are less centered in their psyche. I think just overall, it's like, yeah, they out there, but it's not that deep for them, you know.
And I mean, when you say it's very black and white, here's how we can look at some of the complexities of this conversation. Elon Musk is born and raised in South Africa. He comes to the United States and he automatically is folded into whiteness, right? I guess in South Africa he's a white South African or whatever have you. But he's automatic in the U.S. He's able to access whiteness like that, right? He is folded into whiteness. There's another, I think her name is Johansson.
The same way that like people from Ukraine would come here and they're
folded into whiteness, right? All access and
love and acceptance and all of this support.
They could have accents, they could have whatever have you, right? But they are automatically folded into whiteness, and then we'll have the audacity to tell me about what's an American. You just got off the boat. You just got off the boat. And will have the audacity to tell me, whose family has been here 12 generations, about Trump. Trump's mom and daddy just got off the boat. Them people, they just, yesterday. Mama still got an accent, right? Still has a English or not English, European accent, whatever it may be, and will tell us about what it's like to make America great when we are the ones who made America, right? You know, or then they'll, and I mean, I'm getting off today, but then they'll use the excuse and say, well, I just came from Europe. My parents never owned slaves, but you came here and you access whiteness instantaneously. When you came here, you accessed whiteness. When you got off them boats at Ellis Island in 43 and 44 and 47, you accessed whiteness. And when you was in New York, you lived in with the Italians and the Irish, and you lived amongst the white people. And when you decided to take take a trip down south to Georgia, Mississippi, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, and you walked into the store and it said white only, you was able to access that pie to go sit down and get that white only pie. Remember life? You was able to access whiteness, so you want all the privileges of whiteness, right? But you don't want none of the accountability. Yeah. So anyway. I'm sorry, I gotta know I get carried away. So the last thing that we noticed is that this ties into that, is our South African families still have their like cultural wedding and marriage practices. Now, this was a conversation that came up at dinner, and with the we had dinner with a brother who works at the embassy, and he said, well, look, if a young man nowadays in the United States, because he only been here like a month, got a young lady pregnant, would he go to her parents and say, I think the language in my South African family, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said damaged her.
Mm.
And I was like, no. It ain't how he would say it. Damaged her. No, he ain't damaged that girl. I mean, he got her pregnant. But I don't think we look at. We wouldn't say damaged. Just not the context. That there's a connotation there that is not what we would use. However, I don't think many people nowadays even follow those type of traditional. I gotta go to her dad. There was a time, like
Yeah, that was
when my mom and
just a
dad,
generation before
yeah,
us,
just a
huh?
generation. My mom and dad, yeah, that our parents had if a girl got pregnant, or like they say in South Africa, she fell pregnant. If a girl would fall pregnant and get pregnant, yeah, daddy would find out, and they
Mm-hmm.
would have what they would call a shotgun wedding. Y'all know what a shotgun wedding is? That would that the father of the bride is holding a shotgun to that boy and making him get married. Yeah, you about to this baby's not about to be born out of wedlock. But just in one generation, those type of practices have faded. It used to be a practice of going to a woman's father and asking for her
Mm-hmm.
hand in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
marriage. Those practices have faded. Yeah, that's gone. Like I think most Americans really don't have these traditional marriage and wedding and courtship practices that
Mm-hmm.
we still see in South Africa. So we're talking about the Lobola and meeting with her uncles, which I thought was unique
Mm.
because he was like her mom's brothers would be in charge of the meeting, and they would go and meet with the man's uncles, and I said, well, why not the daddies? And I don't know if I remember his explanation, but here, if there's going to be anything similar like that, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
daddies meeting daddies.
Hmm.
You know, it's going
Hmm.
to be daddies meeting daddies. But in the black community, nearly 70% of black households are headed by a single parent. 70% of black households, children are born out of wedlock. That's where we are. So
Mm-hmm.
apparently, we don't have a strong cultural practice of wedding, courtship, and stuff like that. At one time, we did, and there are still folk who practice it.
Yeah.
But when we look at the majority of our people here in the United States, African Americans, nah, that's a dead practice.
Mm-hmm.
But our
Mm-hmm.
South African family, they still practicing. It's like, you gonna talk about that cow at some point. You get a pregnant, you talk about that cow. You have to buy that cow for the bolo. What you about to say?
Well, marriage and family is a serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to be said about processes
Mm-hmm.
being attached to these decisions and how we go about these things.
But I think it goes back to the conversation that we just had about Black Americans having a bastardized form of white American culture, because
Mm-hmm.
as they moved away from those cultural practices, and since we are in a country that they are the super majority, then
Mm-hmm.
we move away from those cultural
Mm-hmm.
practices. You see what I'm saying? We're kind of forced to follow along.
Mm-hmm.
So as their traditional family values break down, and even the definition of what is a traditional family value, right? We get that from them in our mindset. I mean, in our context, right? We
Mm-hmm.
get that from them. So as they move to being more and more liberal, and just all kind of stuff, all kind of as their liberal identity begins to expand and expound, we are forced through the wave, through the rush of
Mm-hmm.
the wave, to just follow along. We really don't have any resistance. And sometimes we're in a trick bag because of the way politics works in the United States,
Yeah.
right? The way
Well, that
cultural
was part of
politics.
that in order to be accepted by majority culture to
Mm,
access
mm-hmm,
jobs, right?
mm-hmm.
Positions,
Right.
status. You gotta
Go with the
follow that
flow.
way.
Yeah. And accept stuff that in your immediate culture is
Mm-hmm.
like, nah, that's not what we really accept. But you better accept it in this way,
Right. You just
right?
gonna be quiet.
Or move. Yeah, we gotta go.
Let's be quiet or move.
We gotta go to, like.
How far are we gonna take this, y'all?
Yeah. I mean, they are going far at this point.
We don't know what's what anymore. We can't believe our eyes. Can't believe it. Can't believe them lying eyes.
We gotta go.